I had a friend reach out to me recently because he felt like he was starting to drown financially. He had about $37,000 in credit card debt. And like a lot of people in that situation, he wasn't ignoring it. He was trying to figure out what the right move was. So here's what stood out to me right away. He didn't have any late payments, not one. His issue wasn't that he had been missing payments. His issue was that his balances were high. And that's an important distinction that most people don't fully understand. Not because all debt problems are the same. So he tells me that he had been talking to a company and they gave him a plan. They told him to stop paying his credit cards completely. And the idea was that after he stopped paying, they would negotiate the balances down so he could settle the debt for less. Now, on the surface, I understand why that sounds appealing. Pay less than what you owe, get out of debt faster, move on with your life. But here's what they don't always explain clearly. That strategy only works if your credit gets worse first. And I want you to really hear that. In order for those companies to negotiate, your accounts have to become delinquent. That means missed payments, that means late payment history, that means collections in some cases, and all of that shows up on your credit profile. So you're not just resolving debt, you're trading it for long-term damage to your credit. And for some people, that might be the only option they feel they have. But in his situation, that wasn't actually the case because, again, his credit was not broken. It was just heavily utilized. And that's a completely different type of problem. So when your credit is still intact, you still have leverage. You still have options available to you that go away once your profile is damaged. So instead of immediately going down the debt settlement route, we looked at it from a different angle. What if the goal wasn't to escape the debt, but to restructure it in a smarter way? In his case, there was a path where he could potentially consolidate the balances into a lower interest product, reduce his monthly payment, lower the amount of interest he was paying over time, and at the same time, bring his utilization down, which could actually improve his credit score instead of damaging it. The same debt, but in a completely different strategy. And when your score improves, it can open the doors that weren't available before, including access to business credit, which in some cases doesn't report the same way as personal credit. And that creates flexibility. It creates breathing room. It gives you more control over how you move forward. But I also told him something else that I think is just as important. None of these strategies matter if there isn't a plan to increase income. Because if the behavior doesn't change or the income doesn't grow, you can restructure debt all day long and still end up right back in the same position later. So this isn't about shortcuts. It's not about avoiding responsibility. Personally, I believe that if we use the money, that we should pay it back. But that doesn't mean that we have to do it the hardest way possible. There are smarter ways to structure debt. There are better ways to protect your credit. And there are more options available than most people realize, especially if your profile is still in good standing. So if you are in a situation like this, the most important thing that you can do is to slow down before making a decision. Understand the type of problem that you actually have, because high balances and broken credit are not the same thing, and they shouldn't be treated the same way. Not every solution is a real solution. Some of them just shift the problem and make it harder to recover later. Handle it wisely. Make sure you like and comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.